Dr. Matt.
Hey, how's it going, Frank?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Cool.
Mr. Climate Change Extraordinaire. Well, we got, family events. Do you have a family event that you wanted to mention at all, or you have anything happening lately?
Oh, yeah, that's right. My stepson had a kid, so they had a baby this last weekend.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice kid and stuff.
Very good.
Yeah. His name is Oliver Gill.
5G is a recent technology that has more energy efficiency and thus could theoretically use less energy for the cell phones themselves.
Now, you've heard of 5G, right?
I've heard of 5G, yeah. We've been using it for a while, right?
It's actually here now in limited use. So a lot of people are saying 5G will be one of the things that helps us find more energy efficiencies, and so therefore we can do a little better with global warming in a sense that we're not consuming so much energy when we have more efficiencies. So it's a good thing, right? They came up with all these great efficiency ways to do that, and so the average power of your cell phone, even though there was more of them and you could talk longer distance, it became more power efficient, and so they transmitted less average power. So today, a cell phone you have today transmits much less average power than the old ones did back when they first came up with the analog system, in the United States. With 5G, we've added yet another platform out there with a lot of power. So we're not getting rid of 4G, so we're actually just adding more and more antennas that pumping out more energy. Okay, and so do you think that 5G uses more energy than 4G or less energy?
Talking in the phone itself, right?
I'm talking the towers and the phone.
I think the towers would be more, but the phone would be less.
Yes, I think you're right.
That's what I would think,
More 5G cell phone towers are required because the signal doesn't travel as far, which is known as path loss.
We're getting constantly bombarded with electromagnetic waves, okay, from cell phones, from TV, from radio, from satellite communication.
From extraterrestrials, probably out.
From ET,
Just kidding.
Well, hey, they may be adding to the whole thing. Right?
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Because the lower the frequency is, the less what they call path loss of the signal. So the signal penetrates farther and goes longer distances. So you can talk farther. But when you go up higher in frequency, the advantage is you can use faster data rates, but there's the path loss of your signal is greater. You lose more of your signal as it spreads out into the atmosphere. And so you have to put up more towers to compensate for that, the higher up in frequency you go. So the towers are going to have to be closer together than they were for 4G.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
So there's more. So they're consuming a lot more power. Let's say around 60% more power on the 5G system than it is with the 4G systems.
The overall power for 5G is higher because we need more cell towers that each require more energy to operate.
For every 100 megahertz of spectrum that they have to use 30 kilowatts of power. And that's what they're allowed to do by the FCC rules. So which means that if they're using large swaths because there's so many users, 1 gigahertz is 1,000 megahertz. So you see that starts to add up when you have more towers, more power needing, and then more of the frequency spectrum you're using. You're bound to be using up a lot more power, right? So that's one complaint people have, is that we're using more power. Just like AI, we talked about AI, remember?
Yeah.
We're using a lot of power for AI, but
it's true.
But it's probably worth it because we get so much benefit out of it. So, but there's going to be yet another thing that's going to be a taxing problem on our grid.
Non-ionizing cell phone radiation does vibrate molecules but should not be enough to heat up the atmosphere.
But non-ionizing radiation are most of what our radio waves are, microwaves included, even 5G. It does vibrate the molecules more, so it heats things up. Some people say, well, maybe it also heats up the atmosphere. Okay, it's bound to be, in the atmosphere, it's bound to vibrate the molecules more, heat things up more, just like the sun does, right? But is that even really... Is that going to be significant enough to cause warming more of the atmosphere? Most people say no, because it's non-ionizing. It doesn't, and it won't, penetrate people's brains as much either, is what most engineers are saying, because it's non-ionizing.
There is a possibility that rising air temperatures could be caused by the cumulative effect of electromagnetic radiation from cell phone towers and other communications we do.
Now,
I think it's like water. I think, like you were saying, like you have these little droplets, but if you just add them all up, then it's significant. So it's like you say, have like a little water vapor, you can't see it, all this stuff, but it's in the air everywhere, and then when it adds up, then it causes a lot of. That's what I think.
no, you're close, because a lot of people think it could be cumulative, right? Like it could accumulate. Like there's a 5G tower, and there's a 4G tower, and there's a microwave dish. There's all these communication things out there, and they could accumulate to be additive, and so they could all be heating things up more and more, right? So I think you're probably right. But again, is even that significant enough to make a difference in the temperature? So I think one way to test that is to see if after 5G really gets going and we have more and more radio waves in the atmosphere, are the nighttime temperatures averagely going up over year to year? That's what we might want to measure and see, how these things. Because in the daytime, the sun's, going to be much more powerful than a lot of anything else. But at nighttime, is it cool? If it doesn't cool off enough, is it because there's too much CO2 in the atmosphere, or is it because we have all these other things out there, electronics, heating things up? I don't know. Now, most people say no. Most engineers are saying no. It's a negligible effect. So I'm kind of of the camp. Well, it's probably not going to be measurable in a sense of it being too much, but I'm open-minded to like what you just said about it being cumulative and additive. It may be the point where there's too much of these radio waves and they're adding up to cause a little bit of harm that way.
That's a good point you brought up there, boy. That's good.
Well, it's a good point you brought up about the being additive like that. So
yeah.
All right. Well, happy learning of mitigating factors for global warming, and hope that everybody has success in their own life in trying to reduce their carbon footprint.
All right. Sounds good. Hey,
All right,
thanks
man.
there.
Thank you.